Hey everyone, if you have always wanted to be able to realistically shade your human body drawings, but every time you try to pen and ink hatch, you end up with some pretty wonky looking figures, then you have landed on the right video because I want to show you a step-by-step method designed to take away all the guesswork when it comes time for you to put your pen and paper to add shadows. So in this video, you're going to learn to draw what I call the hybrid mannequin and how to use it as a guide for where to add your ink shadings. You're also going to learn a very simplified way to actually hatch the body parts of the human figure. And at the end, I'm going to show you my very simplified version of how to hatch an entire human body. And the method that I'm going to show you is so obvious that by the end of the video, you're literally going to be thumping your own head wondering why it took you so long to piece all of this together. All right, so you know the drill. Pull out your sketch pad, your favorite pens, and let's start learning how to shade the human body. Okay, so the hybrid mannequin is basically a very simple set of spheres. So sphere, this is form. It's going to be the cylinder and the wedge or the cube, modified cube. These are your shapes. That's all you need. Okay, and it centers around the bean method, which is one of my favorite ways of representing the torso. Some people don't think so. Some people like the box method, but wow, do I really think this is not necessarily the best way to go. It's very, very stiff. So you start off with the head here. You're going to then have the neck, which sometimes I don't even put the neck. I just leave it alone. And then what I'll do is I'll go ahead and make the torso area, and I'm going to join it with the pelvis. So this is a torso and pelvis. Okay, now for the torso, you're going to add these discs. Got this from obviously the Loomis, as well as the bean method. You always have this sternum area here is going to be cut in half, and then you're going to denote the rib cage with this line, right? Your belly button goes in the middle. Okay, your head, wherever you need your body to face, you're literally going to use a contour line to tell you where your body's going to face. If your head's going to face that way, maybe looking up, right? That's where you're denoting. If you're looking down, then this egg shape is going to look a little more rounded, right? You may not even see anything else besides this little part that denotes the Roman arch or the rib cage. So with the pelvis, it's as simple as using these discs for bony landmarks of your pelvis, right? Where your hip, like the iliac crest, which is usually the highest point, that's what you want to denote here. And you want these denoted here. You want to know the directionality of your torso with these simple visual organic shapes. Okay, so from there you're going to go ahead and have the kneecaps and the thighs. Very simple, very quick. Do it super fast. Okay, this is how you're going to note the legs. The legs are going to be a sphere, a cylinder that has been cut to show the angle which will match where the pelvis is. All right, I think this helps simplify the form of the human body so that it's easy and it's digestible. Okay, so then you go on to the shoulders, you just add circles. Very simple. Usually where the beans meet and you have this crest, or rather this little indentation, that's where your elbows are going to be, right? And simple cylinders for your upper arms. Usually the crotch is where your wrists are going to be, and then of course your hands. Going to be mid-thigh. So very simple. Let's say if he's looking up or she's looking up, you can always denote the direction by that. The feet are nothing more than a wedge with an ankle, right? These are your basic hybrid mannequin forms that are going to help you visualize the human body. Right? You need to understand the forms and how when light hits those forms, what is going to be happening on all of these individual forms and collectively. So if light hits this part of the body and it is a direct 50-50 light, then you can be sure that half of this is going to be shaded. Now, within this, you have other forms, right? You have other forms like the chest. You have abs, right? You have obliques. You have serratus. All these things are going to be affected. But globally, you're going to have this area in a darker value, just like in this whole part of the arm is going to be a darker value. This part of the shoulder is going to be a darker value. This part of the face is going to be darker value. It's going to really help you understand how to shade the human body. So let's look at how or the best way to actually shade. So there's going to be a few hatch marks that you're going to want to make that are really, really simple. All right, so for simplicity, we're going to use 2 pins. One of them is going to represent the very deep shadows, and the other one's going to represent the more global value, which is going to be the reflective light. So what I mean by that is let's draw out what would be like an arm. Okay, it's going to be an arm. It'll be biceps, triceps, wrist. So that's basically an arm, and of course you're going to have the lats here, right? So we're going to have 3 types of hatching or hatch marks. Okay, the first one is going to be your deep shadows. Okay? And the deep shadows are going to go wherever the reflective light is, or wherever the light source is. The deep shadows are going to be on the opposite of the light source. So let's say we do a light source here, right? 50-50. 50-50 lighting, okay? We are then going to have your core shadows, which the pin's now going to be a little bit higher up, but you still have a pretty good mark. And then you're going to have what is called the global shading or the reflective light shadows. And this just keeps it so simple, right? It keeps it so simple. Okay, and these marks, when it comes to the human form, so the human form, the human body has, I would call it a softer form than these really harsh forms that we see. We're not going to see these exact forms in the human body. As a matter of fact, if you have muscles like this, right? You have all kinds of muscles. You're basically going to have basically like a sheet covering over those forms, okay? Which are going to minimize the amount of harshness that you see like on a full sphere. As a matter of fact, you'll see maybe something like this. So that's going to be the amount of form that you get on the human form. Globally, you'll see entire cylinders like in the entire arm. But when you start breaking down the arm into multiple spheres and small or multiple cylinders, and then you have a little bit of less harshness, right? So you have to keep that in mind, which is why you want to use more of this one. This is the one you're going to use the most. You're going to use this one the second and this one the least, okay? So this is your priority, secondary, and that's your last, okay? If the light is coming this way, you're going to start with all of your reflective light, and you're going to say, okay, well, if the light's coming down this way, then I'm just going to start getting in all of my values. Same thing here, right? I'm getting in all my reflective light in there. Okay? This is going to help make sure that you are sticking with where the value is in relation to your body a lot better, because you're not going to have so many harsh pen marks, okay? The next one would be the core shadow. So again, very light, nothing crazy. Okay? And then you'll have the deep shadows will be next. So anytime there's any overlap. So you'll have like deep shadows here, here, right? There's going to be deep shadows there, here, here, and here, because of this shadow. And just this whole approach, when you're thinking this way globally, and then you start adding in your biceps, right? Your triceps, all of your different forms, all the minor forms in there, then what happens is you start understanding where to put all this. So I'll give you an example. Okay, so let's draw in this, let's see, actually, let me do something a little different. Here we go. Yeah, okay, so I'm going to have these right here, there. Okay. All right. So we have the overall kind of composition. Now I'm going to do is I'm going to then follow right where I think everything should be. I'm going to now focus on a little bit of the insertion sites. Okay. And let's go ahead and go into the forearm. I'm going to get a little bit of the wrist. Okay, bit of forearm here. And then of course the elbow. And let's do, this is obviously going to be chest. Okay, it's going to be the rib cage. Really beautiful serratus. Love the serratus, right? God's amazing design. And then of course the lats. And we're going to go ahead and round that out right there. So we have this really, really cool form, right? And now we want to add shading. So let's do top down, a little bit to the side shading. And what we can see here is we already know where the value is going to be. You can literally just start hatching in where the value is going to be without any discrimination, right? Like, you're going to see, wow, this is just too simple. It just basically getting in form where it would be, and you know, like you'll probably have a little bit of right here because of this top-down nature, right? So already you're going to see just how easy it is to add shading when you know this area. Now let's go a little bit into things like, let's say, okay, let's get a little bit more technical. So we have this area of the cylinder, right? So we still need to get this whole area, even though we have like a big ball coming out. Top down, it's going to be like this. Okay. If you have a cylinder here, we know it's going to be just like that, right? So we're getting in all that goodness. And then right here with this bicep, saved it for the end for a reason. Okay, what do you think is going to happen when you have a top down? Simple, just like that. Right? That's what you're going to have. And with that little tail in, you're going to have a little bit more towards the end. So this is a very simple way. You can leave it like that and it looks good, right? But let's do a little bit further. And let's add a little bit of the core shadows where you think it should be. Where is it going to be the darkest? Remember to be subtle marks. Okay, why do you want subtle marks? Because of this. Because the human body is a softer form, so you don't have too hard. Even though these muscles are really pronounced, you don't want too much. So we're going to do a little bit of. We're going to do some deep shadows and we'll do some core shadows. So right now I'm doing deep shadows. I'm going to do deep shadows here, all right? Deep shadows here where I think that's it's going to be and where it's going to look really good. It's a really fun way to, really, like, I would say sophisticated way to shade because of how easy it is, how beautiful it comes out, right? I learned this from using charcoal, you know, just doing like a bunch of charcoal and just only having 5 minutes, 10 minutes to really get the full effect of where all of this should go. And that's kind of where this came from. So I love the way, I love the way it comes out. So I do it like that. Now again, you can leave it like that. A lot of my charcoal drawings are this way and I implement it with pen, but let's do let's do a step further. And let's add just a little bit more, you know, subtleties where, let's see, maybe here, these are going to be your core shadows now. this is where the core shadow would be. Okay. And just about right here. Okay. So very simple method. I didn't even remember about the rib cage. So let's do the rib cage. Okay. Let's do a little bit of boom, a little bit of detail like that. Look at how simple that is. It's like such a simple method. Just using these three. Make sure you're using subtle marks, and you can come up with some pretty cool shading just like that. And if you think, well, you know, I want a little bit more, I want a little bit darker. Okay, then you add a little bit more of the reflective light. Maybe the reflective light isn't as dark as you want it. All right, then you start adding a little bit more. All right, just make sure you're hatching where the form goes. Okay, just do a little bit more, and you can see how it really starts taking shape. All right. Okay, so hopefully this helps. Okay, so I'm going to do a real life example, and for the sake of time, I'm only going to do the torso. So you should have the reference up. I'm going to use a blue, say ultramarine blue, so that I can get the gesture in. Go ahead and start with the bean method. Okay, then the head's about here. Got the clavicles here. Shoulders there. Boom. And looks something like that. I'm gonna go ahead and do the upper arm. Yep, just like, look at that. This is where the waist is. I'm gonna go ahead and do the forearm. Okay. It's gonna be the his left arm. Okay, so right there, yeah. And then elbows in the back. As you can see, like, you can change whatever direction you need. Whatever direction you need based on whatever direction the arm is at, okay? So this reference is from RimCAD. It's a art and design school. I saved a lot of these so that I can use them and show them to you all. So, all right, the head is going to actually be this way. Okay. And neck comes a little bit like this. Boom, boom. All right. So, all right. Okay, let's see. That one, that one. All right, so now let's look at where the thighs are going to be. Okay, yeah, perfect. It's in the camera. Good. All right, so this is where the thigh is going to be. This is the little thumb. Boom. Okay. And we have, of course, I'm not going to worry about that. So, but as you can see, very effective, very quick method. Now let's go to hatching and getting in the shadows. All right. So I'm going to use my all-purpose pen. I'm going to get a little bit of these contour lines in. All right. Just a little bit of plotting points. Okay. I don't do really thick marks with pen because of how final pen is. All right. Okay. All right. Okay, let's see. I'm also do this fast as well. I'm not boring any of you. I think this is pretty cool to see in real time. See him like following everything. It's such a cool method. Okay. Let's do here. All right, just follows it really nice. Boom. Boom. Okay, cool. Got the little bit of the serratus action. Okay, a little bit of obliques. Really cool defined abs, which I think are awesome. Okay, and then we're gonna go ahead and do thighs, which again you can basically describe all the forms very, very nicely. Okay. That's where a lot of the hamstrings bunch up and the calves, right? The calf muscles bunch up together, and the knees, right? You got the vastus medialis going on here. Boom, again, nothing too crazy. All right, boom, and then boom, okay? And let's see. Messed up on the nail, who cares? Boom. Got really, really cool muscles, really cool thigh muscles. I love the type of description that all of this has. Okay. Boom. And then let's go ahead and get the shoulder. All right, so very quick, very fast way to get these in. Now let's start shading. All right, so the first thing we can see based on where the shadows are, this looks like it is a 3/4 front. So 3/4 front light. He's got a lot of, most of him is in light. So if you take something like, let's say, the chest, you're gonna see this chest muscle, right? You're gonna see this going on. This, if you really look, this is where your terminator line is, this is where your core shadow is. And of course, he's got some more divots from just musculature, but for the most part, this is where the terminator line is going to be on mostly everything, regardless of whether everything is in complete shadow or not. based on cast shadow, this is what you're going to want to look at. You can even see that on the cylinders right here. These seem to be really lit up, but you can still see, because of the angle, right? It's almost like more than 3/4 in light. Just always remember, wherever cylinders turn, you're going to get more light, right? If they're turned towards this, you're going to get a whole lot of light here. You're going to actually get all your shadow around it. Whereas if you have a cylinder here, then that's basically 50-50 light. Okay, so just remember that with how parts of the bodies are turned. And I have another video that really goes over that part. But for right now, we are going to be doing this piece by piece, okay? All right, so let's start adding in our reflective light. Everything that needs value is basically what I would call it's in the reflective light area. So we know that we can see, let's start off with the neck. From here to here is basically what I would describe as needing value and reflective light. Here to here is going to be the same. This is actually a cast shadow, so I'll make that darker. I'm getting in a lot of this light, so this neck, right, is basically like this. And with 3/4 light, you're going to want to have all this. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay. Let's go ahead and do the same thing with this chest. And I'm basically just going in the direction of the chest where it is, okay? The shape that it's making. A lot of these abs are going to be in reflective light. And then all of his lower abs are going to be all reflective light, all global value. Okay? Because his abs are so prominent, they're popping out so much. You don't want to do this for the whole thing. You can, but I would like to leave that highlight because of how much his abs pop out, right? And again, really the hatches don't matter as much as just getting the value in where they need to be. So let's go ahead and do his shoulder. All right. He has a pretty cool looking vein right here, so let's go and add that in. And let's stay in back of the vein. There's a little bit here, but let's kind of stick to it. All right, now his arms. Let's go ahead and get in his arms as well. I like his veins that he's got as well. So let's get those veins in. And let's stick to the opposite side of the veins. Okay. Let's go ahead and do the thighs. So the reason why I'm doing the thigh like this is because the cylinder is like right underneath. So what you're going to have is you're going to have some wrapping around both sides, okay? Okay, and then of course we'll get it on here because this is kind of wrapping down, and as we can see, we have that whole area of a little bit of shadow here. but most of it is going to be in this area right here. Okay. And then of course, this whole arm is basically in a cast shadow. So same thing with this part of the traps. So I'm still going to add in all of these really cool marks, these reflective marks, because these are really going to help with knowing where the most of the value is, okay? Hopefully this is helping everybody. Hopefully you can see how easily this starts transforming. Now we can start getting into a little bit of really cool layering, right? Really nice layering. So we can start going into like where you want a little bit darker cast shadows, where you want the core shadows. So remember, we have reflective light, and global value. So it's a lot of value. Then we have the core shadow, and then we have the wherever it needs to be, deep shadows, which can also mean cast shadow. Okay? Use this most, second, and third. Okay? All right, so let's start applying where we would use these different types of shadows. Okay, let's see, we can have a little bit of darker shadows here. A darker shadow here. And then definitely darker shadow here. Okay, I would definitely say here. And here. Let's do a little bit more. Here. Okay. Some there. Let's get a little bit here. And definitely in this area, there's a lot of really meaty shadows. Okay. And the best thing to do is not, again, don't put too much. You don't want to have so much that you're just like, what in the heck? Okay. Add it everywhere that I think is the darkest value needed. Okay. And as you can see, it's starting to take form a little bit. We're going to add the deep shadows where we think they need to go. All right. It's all about layering. Deep shadow here. Deep shadow here, because I mean, it's right underneath everything. And then definitely deep shadows here. And just kind of look to see where you have lots of forms and overlapping and contours, and you can really get good at where everything needs to go. Okay. Just gonna add this. Okay. Let's do this part right here. I feel like this is a really good area to do deep shadows, but let's see. And cast shadows. Mm-hmm. And let's add some more here. This is where I feel like it's deepest. Just add a little bit of hints. Okay. All right. Now let's go in and add some more of the local or global values. Kind of adding in some more of those external obliques. Okay. All right. Let's make this value a lot darker. Got to make sure these are a lot darker. And it really doesn't matter how many or what directions you want to add. Just keep going. You just keep building up, right? You'll know when, if you squint your eyes, you'll be able to see more or less where you need more. Just add it along. All right. Add it along. Follow the contours. Cross contour, follow the forms. Add a little bit more at a time. Once you think, yeah, this is where I want it, you can really start building up. Hopefully this is helping. Hopefully you're able to really see in real time what hatching and, you know, what it can look like. Okay. Do a little bit more right here. Need some core shadow. Build up that knee a little bit. And then definitely need some local, some global value here. Okay. All right. All right. There it is. Very simple, very easy. I try to do it as fast as I can. Now, normally I would take a lot more time, and I would really want this to be like really, really, you know, just really perfect. But I mean, I'm not gonna make you guys, you know, wait for like an hour and a half after watching the rest of this video. So I'm definitely gonna have a lot more videos on doing things like this. See, and I would just add more. See, I'm already doing something that I probably shouldn't, but I'm already. Okay. All right. But anyways, you guys get the gist of it, and you can definitely see how this can help you really get lots of good meaty hopefully this helps, and you can see how this can help get your shading where it needs to be, just following references, following the forms of where things would be, and how to just kind of um, stay on track on a lot of this stuff that, you know, it seems really hard, but the more you put like intention behind it. You're just using these 3 hatchings. As you can see, I only use those 3. You simplified it, and as time goes on, you can get a lot more detailed. You can be a lot more intentional with everything that you're doing. And but use them. Tell me what you think, and hopefully it helped. All right. All right, you did it. You made it to the end, and now you can draw human bodies like Michelangelo. Well, maybe not as quite as good, but at least you've shaved off about a good 2 or 3 good years of guesswork. And remember, the human body is a beautifully created organism with numerous organic forms. Not all of them are simple and easy to visualize, but as you practice what I've taught you in this video, you're going to make leaps and bounds when it comes time to shading and hatching the human body. So thank you all for watching. Let's keep developing the gifts that God placed within us and live life on purpose. I post weekly pen and ink drawing videos just like this one, so if you want more resources, then you can go ahead and click on any of the videos to my right or to my left. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.